So we are back to using our spiky trigger point balls for underneath our pelvis, our glutes, our piriformis, releasing any tightness around there. Really good if you've been sitting all day, and really good to open up through the back of your body, back of your sacrum as well. So we start lying down on our back. Bring your feet into a parallel position and just have a little shake off. Keep both of them nearby. Arms by your side, head rests on the floor. Taking a few big deep breaths here to soften inside the body and surrender your body weight into the mat. So you may want to just check in with your 12 and 6 and see what it feels like without using any props. And your 3 and 9 o'clock, your right and left. And maybe a few little circles of your pelvis. So you're just checking in with your pelvic tilts, how they feel to you without using any of the props. Noticing how far you can get the belly button back towards the spine, how easy it is to send the pubic bone away in between the legs. And then we're going to stand down into our feet and lift our hips up, placing the spiky balls in underneath us, either side of our sacrum, into the top of the buttocks, into the top of the glutes. That's it. So it's not in the flesh of the buttocks, it's a little bit higher. And neither is it in the bony part, so you want to kind of get into the top of the buttocks where the main muscle strip is of the piriformis, the glute med, the glute main, that would wrap around. That's it. So if you took the creases of your hips around, it would just be back behind them almost. And if you tilt your pelvis back and forth, belly button and pubic bone, 12 and 6, you'll start to notice if they feel even on either side, underneath each thigh bone, if this is the easy pivot point for your body to rock the pelvis back and forth, belly button and pubic bone. Nice and easy. And then you can start to load right and left, sinking one hip down and then the other, noticing the other leg reaches away as the other thigh bone drops down into the hip socket. So a little side to side. And maybe a few pelvic clocks, full circles, going in one direction and then the other. The spiky balls being sort of obstacles or speed bumps that you have to move around, go over. And then come back through to center. Establish them if they've gone for a wriggle. Push down into the left foot, float your right leg up to tabletop. Just have a little wriggle, bit of internal, external rotation. Let that thigh bone side down on top of the ball. And then place that foot back down. And then switch through to the other side. Soft ribs, arms by your side. Any sensations here, just explore them for you. And then bring that foot back down. From here, we're just going to start to swing the hips side to side. So you're going for a little scrub of the balls. Itchy bear in the woods style, full salsa of the hips. And the balls will start to move out. You can see they're escaping. And I have to keep placing them back in underneath you. So keep doing that. Scrub, scrub, scrub. One more time. Scrub, scrub, scrub. Until they're just about out. Until they've just about escaped. That's it. So they're kind of creeping around to the outside of your hips. Your pelvis might even be rubbing on the floor. Can you cross your right leg over your left? So not ankle to knee. Go thigh to thigh. That's it. Arms come out by your side. And you're going to allow the legs. So the right leg is on top of the left. To sink and soften. Ooh, out over to the right. Easing into it so you can rock back and maybe adjust the ball slightly out, slightly up, slightly down. Checking in where you feel any feedback. You might get the old click or clunk through the back of the opposite hip, so your left hip. And you can move this right ball slightly out to the side, slightly up a little bit. Having a little check-in, finding anything that you maybe want to hang out to, that feedback sensation. If you've got any pins or needles or any sharp shooting pains, then just ease off and move the ball slightly up, slightly down, in, out. It's just a bit too neural. And you're just loading your weight down. So your whole left hip has come up off the ball. That ball's free to roam. But it's still there, so when you rock back onto it, you can get a little feedback from it. And then you can drop back through onto the right. easing into anything, letting the spiky trigger point balls do their work on your fascia, hydrating your fascia around that muscle area. And then come back to your center, keep your bind, and just allow the legs to soften and drop the other way. It's just a little bit of a different twist, different bind. And then come back through the center, unhook the right leg, feet into parallel, reset the balls back to where they were when we first began. Scrub, scrub, scrub. That's it. I'm just going to shuffle a little bit out. And then we cross our left leg over our right. Let the thighs slide together. Arms out low and wide. Soft ribs, long neck. All of this is going to be feeding up to your whole posterior chain, your back line. And can you now let the legs soften? Oh, it makes my voice go up a little bit. And often drop over to your left then. Keeping that lovely bind, your left leg is yawning open through the front of that right hip, pulling through that front thigh. And again, you can rock in and out. Some of you will be able to just hang out there on any sensations. Nice and happy. Arms by your side, neck lovely and long. Again, moving the ball, so imagine this is the left hip, slightly up, slightly down, slightly forward, slightly back, wherever you want to. And then loading back onto it. So they're going to be in different positions on different hips, the way that you hold the tension, the fascia. Maybe one leg you're always standing in. Maybe you have had an old injury on one side as well. Or a new one, hear me. Just checking in how it feels, taking that fascia and giving it feedback, loading into it, letting it have that moment of sort of that deep, pointed pressure. Then come back through the center and just allow the legs to soften and sway and sink the other way. Nice big deep twist. And then come back through, unhook the legs, bring the balls back in underneath you, go for one last scrub, and then just take the balls out from underneath you and lay your pelvis all the way back down. Take a gentle 12 and 6, a 3 and 9. Notice how that feels. If we've got a bit more range. And I would gently glue the legs together. Let your arms go out low and wide and just take a very gentle windscreen wiper side to side. You'll be rolling through all of that fascia that you just got into. Piriformis, glute med. That's it. And then we've got one last area to get in relation to your pelvis. So we want to come along your sacrum, along your tailbone. So you're going to stand into your feet and you're going to place them stacked almost one on top of each other, like two traffic lights, along your tailbone. So from the crease of your buttocks up, you want them along and in line with your spine almost, but they're down underneath your pelvis. So they're not in your lower back at all. So I'll get my hand through. You allow your pelvis to settle here and you notice your 12 and 6 is pretty perfect. Because the spiky balls have got that lovely heavy pelvis resting on it. And we just allow the pelvis to rest here. So we can't really 12 and 6. They move a little bit. What we can do is 3 and 9. So we're dropping one hip off one end and then the other. Having a little check out here. You can allow the arms then to sweep along the floor just so we leave the pelvis alone, let it drop through and send them in arm arcs up overhead. Internally rotate your palms and send them reaching back behind you. Hover them off the floor in that reach, long back of the neck. Nice big deep breaths. Thumbs facing down towards the floor, palms facing each other. Active reach, big power pose. Heavy pelvis just resting on the spiky balls. And then carve them, arc them, reach them all the way back through to your side. Taking our focus to our legs and pelvis in neutral, standing into the left foot, allow the right leg to float up to ease, and then switching through our 90-90 tabletop legs. And we're just taking a few of these because it changes our walking pattern. So we don't have the balls underneath each hip. We now have them in line with our spine. And we want to keep the body quite quiet. We're just having a little check-in. And it really helps us open the sitting bones. So the whole way through, your pelvis is just loading down on these spiky balls. And now the reason we have them underneath the flat bone of the sacrum is that the tendons and ligaments of the buttock muscles, your glutes especially, the tendons and ligaments that attach those muscles to the bone, attach to that sacral bone. So you're kind of talking to the fascia of the tendons and ligaments and the fascia that also runs over that flat bone. And that can be the last bit that really releases our pelvis. From here, we stand into the feet, lift the hips up, take the balls out from underneath you and lay your lovely long lower back now because you've released into it and your very open sacrum and pelvis. Take a little 12 and 6. Maybe a little rock, 3 and 9. Maybe soften and let the legs windscreen wiper side to side. You might want to hug them in towards your chest, noticing how easy it is now in your lower back. Release one foot, then the other. Curling around to your side, come up to seated. Notice how easy it is now to sit and find your sitting bones. It eases into the lower back. It's going to release all the way around into the hip and down a little bit as well. And it's a great way to find some sense of openness if you've been sat, if you've been crouched, if you've been leaning into one side especially. So it's a good go-to and it only takes 10 minutes. Let me know what you thought of it and I'll see you again for more spiky ball work soon. Bye guys.